All right, episode 30, Heart of the Order. Guys,
Guy.
guy, we finally woke up. Two of us woke up this time. We tried to record this episode earlier in the week before the playoffs actually started. Obviously, it didn't go too well, so we're coming to you a little late in the week. The playoffs has started. A couple series have already been won. We're still going to give you our predictions. But first, as you can tell, one of us isn't here today. Mr. Andre Frye has slept in, and he isn't on this call yet.
For the second time this week.
And this is after he told us on Tuesday morning that he was going to set an alarm for Thursday already. Obviously, he didn't set that alarm. We're going to call him real quick. We're going to see what happens here and see if he wakes up.
Like, you're live.
It looks like he's going to wake up. Dre's not a morning person.
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice
He's
message.
definitely, like, he told us he was a morning person, but I guess
three.
Good morning, Dre. And just leave him a really sweet voicemail.
Is not available. The mailbox is full and cannot accept
I can't even leave him a voicemail.
Goodbye.
Man, that's disappointing.
Well, so now we can just talk about how big of an Astros fan he is. And
yeah, so
Dre is that
Dre's the biggest
knocked the Twins out
of all time. He's the biggest Astros fan we know. He's really rooting for him, even though he won't tell you guys.
He predicted the Astros to win.
He did. He had them going to the World Series, even without all of their cheating and their sign stealing programs. He told us up front he was gonna go with the Astros this year. He felt like they were good. He felt even without Justin Verlander and Garrett Cole, they could go far. Dre was
morally, he was called back.
Yeah.
The team that had the best morals and is just easy to root for. So you can't fault him there.
Dre money is just Dre money. It's funny that he's not here, but hopefully he'll join us at some point throughout the show. We'll see if that happens. I doubt it, but we'll see.
And we'll see if I think he will. I think it's 6:45 now. I think he'll be stumbling in.
But maybe like 7:15.
Regardless, it's October 1. We have October baseball. We've already had some playoff baseball for probably, I think definitely the first time ever we will have, granted playoff expansion, but 8 playoff games in one day. There was baseball getting a little bit of the March Madness treatment. Like, this was sort of what, like yesterday being a day where there was nonstop baseball from 12 on to like well past midnight.
Yeah.
Like, that is awesome. And I think that's really cool for the game to play in that atmosphere. And like, as we've seen by a lot of the stuff, it's, I got a notification. I thought it was Dre. 3-game series is anything can really happen. So we've got the Indians getting shellacked, the Twins heartbreak continuing. We got more baseball to go today.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, that first day, game started at like 2:00. I was tuned in right away. It was TVs on, baseball in the background. Yesterday was busy work day for me, so I didn't get to watch as much. But I think like the March Madness feel kind of describes the day perfectly, because you had baseball going all day long. And with this like expansion, especially with everything going on in the country and stuff like that, it's definitely an interesting day, an interesting like kind of time to see baseball going on throughout the day, especially competing with like the NBA Finals last night. Game 1 was on, and stuff like that. And we definitely have some interesting matchups. Brooksy, like you said. The Twins have lost 2 straight. So, of course, the Astros are advancing to the next round already. The Rays have already won their series over the Blue Jays. Was a kind of, in a way, I'm not gonna lie. In a way, I was a little disappointed. I was hoping the Jays were gonna at least win one game. I'm a fan of these young teams like the Blue Jays, the Padres, the White Sox. I'm really high in the White Sox. I was hoping the Blue Jays were at least going to win one game. You know, they're the Buffalo Blue Jays. You know.
Then you gotta. That's what happens when you go from Canada to back to America, especially Buffalo.
Yeah.
But they got knocked out pretty hard. Ryu got destroyed in the first 2 innings, and I thought, like, looking at the two pitchers that were going into that game and who some of the big Blue Jays guys were, I'm like, oh yeah, they could push this maybe to a third. But the Rays quietly handled their business. The Astros handled their business. So the Yankees, not quietly, they handled their business as well. They had on Tuesday night, Garrett Cole pitched pretty well, and they just destroyed Shane Bieber.
Yeah.
And then last night, it was just a baseball game that wouldn't end, and just back and forth. And of course, DJ LeMahieu hits a 7-bouncing ground ball up the middle to finally break it and win it. So yeah, we got 3 of these series won by today.
Yeah.
And then with 5 games today, I mean, all of them.
Yeah, we could have more
in elimination games.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it's speaking of DJ LeMahieu, like, I want to ask you a quick question about him since he got brought up. I always see all this talk about how DJ LeMahieu is a machine, and he's been a machine the past 2 years. His hitting average has been wild, but is the hype around him real? Like, do you think the hype around this guy is real?
Pretty sure. I think he won a batting title when he was in Colorado. I'm just backing that up now, but I mean, he's been in the league since 2011. Yeah, I mean, in 2016 he won the batting title. He had a season where he hit 348. Granted, it was in Colorado, but like from 2015 on, outside of 1 year, his average is always, at 300, well north of it. OPS, nothing's alarming. I think because, when you get that factor of going into New York and
that can happen.
The player that comes into New York and beats the expectations that came in for you, get that sort of label. So he's played well. I'm not sure of, the praise that he's getting, but I think that's just New York responding to a guy that beats the expectations.
It was just, I saw like people calling him the machine the other day, and the machine is Albert Pujols in his prime, when he was like an actual machine. He was just spraying the ball over all the ball field. And like, so when someone gets that, like, it's like, all right, let's see here.
I wonder if it's like in relation to like the name, like LeMahieu, if it's like Le Machine.
Oh yeah.
So like, I wonder if it's like they're trying to pick the nickname because of the name, whereas Albert Pujols is just legitimately in the 2003 2006 just a pure machine.
I mean, I remember the like the memes you would get of Albert Pujols back then, when they would like take off part of his face, and like it would be like a Terminator like under his skin, like it's just interesting to see kind of that comparison. So Brooksy, so we've kind of talked about the first round a little bit already. We kind of broke down a couple of the series. You think it's time to give our playoff predictions?
Now the play has already started.
Yeah.
I feel like now's the best time for us to be honest as possible.
Honest as possible.
I'm trying to think. So I had Dodgers.
Okay.
Padres. I really wanted to pick the Cardinals just because I really didn't want them to win. But I
So
picked
you're
the
trying to like the
Pa-
reverse factor. You're trying to.
yeah, it was like, if I pick the Cardinals, they're not gonna win.
Yeah.
But I picked the Padres. So the Cardinals are up 1-0 right now in that series, but they got Zach Davies versus Adam Wainwright today.
Yep.
Then I picked the Cubs, which I would love to see the Marlins, who never lost a playoff series,
Mm-hmm.
the only team in the 4 major sports. Granted, to make the playoffs, but then you have. I picked who's the 2? I picked the Braves, which that was like an excellent game. We can get into that. RIP to their bullpens. I got the Rays, the Yankees, the Twins. RIP to the Twins.
Yep.
And I got the A's.
Okay.
Then I had the Dodgers and the Braves. And the Dodgers going.
Yep.
I had the Yankees beating the Rays and the Twins beating the A's, the Yankees beating the Twins, and the Yankees Dodgers World Series that is
Everyone's
sort
hoping.
of boring. Or like not boring in it, but like my prediction isn't anything spicy or hot. I just think in this shortened environment, like it's just you're throwing out everything out the window, and I think level of talent, like just the pure insane pieces of talent will sort of be the big decision makers and who's winning these games. And like just looking up and down the Yankees lineup, I'm like, they just have that.
Yeah.
So those are my boring predictions.
Before I get into mine, I'm gonna give you guys Dre's. Because Dre came into the group chat yesterday. He's like, "Oh no, I gotta change my predictions." Like, realistically, Dre had the Twins in the World Series, guys. All right, we're just gonna start right there. Dre has the Twins.
I was close. And
he came into the group chat yesterday. He's like, "Wait, I gotta switch my pick. I'm not going." I was like, "Dre, you're gonna switch your pick now? Like, you made it already. Just because we're recording today doesn't mean you can change it." Anyway, if he comes on, we're gonna make him give an apology to the Rays because that's who he switched his pick to. But anyway, Dre's original picks were Rays beating the Blue Jays, the Yankees beating the Indians, the Twins beating the Astros, and the White Sox beating the Athletics. He had that on the American side. On the National League side, he had the Dodgers beating the Brewers, the Padres beating the Cardinals, typical, the Cubs beating the Marlins, and the Reds beating the Braves. So he had, in the second round, he had the Reds beating the Cubs and the Dodgers beating the Padres. And then on the American side, he had the Twins beating the White Sox and the Rays beating the Yankees. And he had the Twins beating the Rays to get in the World Series. Dodgers beating the Reds to get in the World Series. Dodgers winning the World Series. But again, he wants the Rays to beat the Twins now because the Twins are no longer in it. Typical Dre stuff. For me, I had Tampa Bay going to the World Series. So I'll just start there. I had the Rays beating the Blue Jays. I had the Yankees beating Cleveland. I knew they were going to get out of the first round. They're just too good for that. I was like reading the group chat, and I was a tweet or a text from Dre popped up, and it said, "Yeah, I can do that." And I thought he was going to join us. So I was like, "No, that's an old text. Never mind."
At 7, he's going to come in a little after 7.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that's a good time for him. This Yankees-Rays matchup in the second round, I think is going to be one. I think it's going to be the most competitive matchup that we'll see in the playoffs. I think the Dodgers are going to sweep whoever comes out of the American League. I really do. So that Tampa Bay Yankees game is going to be real good. Or the series is going to be real good. I think Tampa Bay comes out on top. I think they're just too hot right now. And I think they find a way to just quiet the Yankees bats and put some runs on the board. In the bottom half of the bracket, I had Minnesota beating the Astros, the White Sox beating Minnesota, and then I had the White Sox beating the Twins. So I had the White Sox going to the American League Championship. Tampa Bay beating the White Sox to get to the World Series. So Dodgers, I have the Dodgers going to the World Series. San Diego beating St. Louis. Chicago beating Miami. The Reds beating Atlanta. I also have the Reds beating Chicago to get to the National League Championship Series.
Okay.
And Dodgers beating the Padres, and then the Dodgers going to the World Series. I'm real high on the. How do you feel about the Reds, Brooksy? I'm really high in the Reds. I mean, Trevor Bauer had a. We'll get to his game from yesterday, but like, he's just been stout. The pitching staff has been crazy. I know that they lost the first game of the series yesterday in a wild one, and we'll get to that too. Well, what's your opinion on the Reds? Just heading into the playoffs, what do you think they can do?
I mean, I think that they're beyond just Trevor Bauer, Sonny Gray and Castillo. Like, you have these names. Like when we talked in the past episode, there's certain teams that can sort of take that Nationals model that they did last year, rolling in with 3 pitchers. And if your bullpen can hold things together, you can really advance. And, you know, they were serious about acquisitions additionally, even at the deadline, getting Archie Bradley. And, you know, it sucks that they lost in the first game when Trevor Bauer puts up the game that he did. And it sucks that it went as long as it did, because that is the toughest part of all this, is that, you know, then you're gassing a lot of the arms. And I think now, I don't think Sonny Gray is going today. I think it's Castillo and Ian Anderson. And I think it's going to be like, because with the Braves, you knew that game against Max Fried is going to be very tough. And he pitched a great game. No runs given up, scattered 6 hits, not as many strikeouts as Bauer, but like, hey, get him out. But now it's like with the Braves, it was all about, well, what do they have after Max Fried? And they've been dealt with a lot. And I think with their back against the wall, I mean, they have the pitching for it, but you know, they're going to have to win too. They're going to have to win back-to-back without their main guy, and that's going to be tough, especially with the diminished bullpen. But hey, in this format, anything can happen. So like, I can definitely see why teams are bullish on them, because why people are bullish on them, because when they weren't doing well, it was just like, well, they just got to get in, and then they have the arms to compete with anybody. And if the team is most relieved, it's probably the Dodgers. That they don't have to play them. But I mean, also, like, meanwhile, like, the Braves are the real deal in terms of what they're bringing to the table. And I like Freddie Freeman is just like hopefully finally getting the MVP recognition that he deserves, and they're going to put something together. And I think today's game is going to be, I think that's the 12 o'clock game too. So the fun starts early.
Yeah, I mean, this game last night, you know, it was something that we wanted to talk about. It was a 1-0 game. It went 13 innings. Trevor Bauer went 7 2/3, only allowed 2 hits, 12 strikeouts on 103 pitches.
Didn't walk any.
And it didn't walk any. Like, he was literally, like, I don't know if you guys follow the Pitching Wizard on Twitter. I can't remember the actual name.
Pitching Ninja?
Yeah, Pitching Ninja. Sorry, Pitching Ninja. But like, Bauer was all over that Twitter account yesterday, just painting the black. And Max Fried was on there too, and it was just kind of back and forth, a pitching duel through the first, 7 innings of these two guys going back and forth. And it was like, when is this going to end? Like, you know, but those are the matchups you love to see in the playoffs. I think was when like two pitchers are just like absolutely going at it, and they're both pitching at the top of their game. Like those are the matchups you love to see. I mean, at least that I love to see,
Mm-hmm.
kind of, you know, making their throws, making their pitches. But between these two teams, this is where it's going to get interesting. Between these two teams, they used 14 pitchers yesterday. The Reds used 8, or not the Reds used 6. The Braves used 8. AJ Minter ended up getting the win for the Braves, pitching 2/3 innings with a K to get the W. AJ Bradley got the loss for the Reds. He only threw a third of an inning. Amir Garrett didn't even get an out, but obviously when you're at the end of the game, that usually happens. He only allowed a hit, so he'll probably be good. But they had 4 other pitchers throw over 20 pitches. The Braves, most of the Braves pitchers were kept below 20 pitches for the most part. So we'll see how many of those guys like we might possibly see today. But I think this matchup is going to be pretty interesting. I mean, you have the Braves as the number 2 seed, the Reds as the number 7 seed. I just think like the Reds have what it takes to get it done.
Mm-hmm.
The Braves, I wouldn't be surprised if the Braves won this series though either, even though I picked the Reds. It's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was the series that I was most intrigued by. And I mean, it's always like interesting that, you know, they finished that game probably around 3:34 yesterday.
Yeah.
And then like a quick turnaround now. Like, well, what is the makeup of this game going to be? Is it just going to be one where the offense just like explodes, and then it's just like, okay, what pitching battery can keep their arms attached, and then it's just like a slugfest, or like how is this game going to roll out? But I'm intrigued to see Castillo go, because for a while when the Reds weren't performing, he was their lone guy, and so now he's the one that's taken the hill with the chance to like keep his team around.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, speaking of intriguing pitching matchups that we saw yesterday, today, where the winners of the Reds and the Braves play the winners of the Marlins and the Cubs.
Yeah.
And say what we will about that game yesterday, but today you got Sixto Sanchez and Yu Darvish, and that's going to be a huge pitching matchup. And all I'm going to say is it is wonderful to see the former Pirates outfield of Corey Dickerson and Starling Marte and sort of Matt Joyce beat the Cubs.
Yeah, I mean, they came out and got a 5-1 win yesterday. First of all, like before I even get into that game, the fact that the Marlins are actually in the playoffs, I think is one of the most surprising things either of us has expected out of this team. I mean, when we made our preseason predictions, I think we all we counted out the Marlins from the very start. Like there was no shot that we thought they were going to make the playoffs. Like no chance. And here they are, going against the Cubs, the number 3 seed, winning the first game of the series.
In the air, that's pretty well struck. Hamilton.
Winning the first game of the series 5-1, scoring 3 runs off Kyle Hendricks. And just like, I didn't see this coming at all. I didn't see it coming whatsoever.
Yeah, looking at this now, like when you have Baez, Rizzo, and Bryant combining to go 1 for 12, that's an issue.
Yeah.
You need, like, this team's going to go as far as, not to the same degree as Rizzo, but as far as, like, I mean, that crew, Bryant and Baez will take you. You can't rely on Ian Happ to be your main source of production. But don't know how to pronounce his name. Sandy Alcantara.
Yeah,
Ever since he came back from COVID, other than like one start, he's been like pitching well.
Yeah.
And now they have Sixto Sanchez going today, and they're just like putting together these like little pieces. And it's still, I mean, they're going to be a team that, you know, it's easy to root for, similarly to the Rays in a lot of respects. So I think that's going to be interesting today, and that game is at what time? That's at 2.
Okay.
It's at 2. So we have yeah, Yu Darvish has been like one of the top pitchers in the league. If it wasn't for like Trevor Bauer's last few starts, I'd say Cy Young leader, but like his playoff record is just like abysmal. So it'll be interesting to follow that today and see what we have. See if some Pirates players can break their hearts.
Yeah. Let's see. I mean, I think it would be cool to see the Marlins like go in and do something because, there's been this stigma around the team for quite a while about Derek Jeter going in there and just like breaking it all down. I mean, and he has for the most part, but it would be cool to see them kind of bounce back in the playoffs and actually like maybe make a run. Like if they came out and beat the Cubs today and went to the next round, that'd be wild to me.
Yeah.
Honestly, but like, I mean, I don't see them like making a run to the World Series or anything like that, obviously. But I think it'd be interesting to see because the last time you really saw this team, win a World Series, it was Josh Beckett, it was Juan Pierre, it was Miguel Cabrera, it was Dontrelle Willis, it was Hanley Ramirez. It was just like a bunch of guys at the beginning of their careers, and like. It was like you look back on that team, Brooksy. Mike Lowell was on that team. Like that team was wild.
Derek Lee.
Yeah, I think Derek Lee was on that team too. Yeah, it was just like that team was so much fun to watch. Like I remember I wore my hat crooked because of Dontrelle Willis for the longest time. Like you got to tilt it to the side a little bit.
D-Train.
Yep. Like that team was wild. So it would be cool. It would be cool for them to like return back, to that level. I think we've been hoping for it for a while, and now they got the Pirates outfield pretty much from a couple of years ago, and they come out and beat the Cubs in the first game of the playoffs. So we'll see what happens with that today. But I think that should be a matchup to watch.
Marte broke his pinky, but apparently they think he can play through it.
Ooh.
So hopefully that's the case. So those are 2 games that, will be interesting. I'm hoping as the fan, one of them goes to 3.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then on the other side of the NL, because obviously the Cardinals put up 4 in their first inning.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it is a little concerning when like the Padres, they're not having their full limit and Clevenger not even being on the wild card roster.
Yeah.
So like due to injury and Chris Paddock going out there and getting jacked around a little bit in the first game, and now they have to go against Adam Wainwright, who somehow is still doing it.
Yeah.
So that's one where like if I was picking by my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to see, the Padres-Rays World Series, but I would like to see, like, the Padres at least, like, take it to the Cardinals. Because the Cardinals are just that team that, like, still – they're always going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
They just have these pieces, and they just put it together. And
they churn them out. White Sox Athletics, I think, is going to be another good series. I mean, this is a team these are 2 teams that we've kind of talked about through the early goings of the season. The Athletics always finding a way to get it done somehow, some way. You never consider them at the beginning of the year, and then by the end, they're in the postseason and they're making a run. The White Sox are a team that everyone's kind of been high on this year just because of their youth. The prospects they have coming up through the system that are making their first appearances this year and stuff like that. And I was high on them. I like the young, energetic teams. This is definitely a team that stood out to me, the White Sox at least. I was hoping to see if they can do something nice. It's tied at 1-1 right now, so we'll have a winner from that game today.
And they still haven't announced the starters for that game.
Yeah.
And that's playing at 3.
Yeah. I mean, Keuchel came out and got the loss last night. I think Giolito threw a gem in game one, from what I can remember, and I think that's gonna be a good game today. I think. So we'll see what happens there, and then
Yeah, and I think to a different degree. I mean, this is a transitioning well, but similarly to the Twins, you know, playoff heartbreak and 18 consecutive losses, and
18.
not in the same degree, but like the A's have sort of had their own, heartbreak in the playoffs, in the Billy Beane era, and it always seems like they're getting to these elimination games. Like I remember in like 2013 when the Tigers were just a powerhouse, and the A's took them to elimination game, Sonny Gray versus Verlander, and they lost that in a heartbreaker. And it always seems like the A's are just falling short. So they're going to an elimination game today. Let's see what happens. But the Twins dropping 2 to the Astros, and I think
Cheaters.
Both those games, I think the bullpens may have dropped a little bit. Yeah, because looking at this here, they had the lead in game 1, and they lost that one 4-1. Sergio Romo blew up a little bit, and then in game 2, it was tied going into the 7th.
Yeah.
And there's some heartbreak there. But the one thing that I would want to point out is Framber Valdez. So in game 1, Greinke pitched 4 and change, a pretty decent ball, but then Valdez came in the last 5 innings and just shut them down. And I think maybe giving up 2 hits or something. So even though they don't have Cole and Verlander, it's easier to write them off.
Is your most powerful.
Sorry.
But there's still, some arms to throw around there. And now they're just going to get to reload because they're not playing again until Monday and put Greinke out there again.
Yep.
So I hate seeing it, but the Astros are the enemy.
No one likes to see it. It's the worst. But when of course, Altuve didn't get a hit in the second game. Just gonna point that out. But when you as a team, as the Twins, when you only get 3 hits in a game with your past, if you know what I mean, when you're known as a hitting team, when you set home run records and stuff last year and stuff like that, and you only come out and get 3 hits, it's kind of gonna go bad.
Yeah, and you're going out there with strong pitching too. This postseason's all going to be about what team has, they have their strength, their right hook, but what team has a decent enough left hook to keep them in it.
Yeah.
And the Twins going out there with Maeda and then Berrios, and then just unfortunately laying an egg offensively. One of the 3 hits yesterday being Alex Kirilloff.
Yep.
Pittsburgh boy, Plum boy.
Former Plum Mustang. Yep. He's the first position player in MLB history to get his first MLB hit in the postseason, which is wild.
His first game too.
Yeah, his first game. MLB Pipeline shared a pretty cool stat. I mean, for some reason there have been a bunch of pitchers that have gotten their first hit in the postseason, but never a position player. And it's wild that you would think that up until this point, there's never been a position player that has gotten their first MLB hit in a postseason game.
And all the things baseball, there's always these crazy instances that happen, and they're always oh yeah, this happened 50 years ago. Yeah. And this is a case where it's oh no, this never happened before. I'm well, it is pretty crazy.
Yeah, you would think that there have been some in the past, there have been some star prospect who, gets called up in the postseason and it's all right, we're throwing you in there. Let's see what you can do. And then he goes out. You would think that would have happened once or twice. Jacoby Ellsbury is one name that kind of pops into my mind when I think it was 2007, I think. He came up. I can't remember when he came up in the season, but he came up and he had one of the best postseasons of anyone on the team.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what led to kind of hit the early part of his career until he got older, lost his legs, signed a ginormous contract with the Yankees, and then you never heard from him again.
Haven't played since.
But like it's cool to see him go out and get his first hit, and it was one of 3 hits yesterday that the Twins were able to get. And he also went out and made a pretty nice sliding catch in right field. I don't know if you saw that one.
Yeah.
But he kind of slid in, and this is the Twins' number 2 prospect. He's gone through a couple things in his career. He had Tommy John surgery in 2017, but he came back and bounced back in 2018 and I think he hit for like a 368 average between single A and double A, or single A and high A ball. And then, this year he did pretty solid. I got to talk to him earlier in the year, or not this year, but in 2019. And he battled through some injuries and stuff like that with his wrist and stuff like that. But he was able to bounce back, and he got his call, and I think that's the big thing. I think.
Yeah, and it stinks for it's a good way to sort of come in and on the biggest stage and get a hit, make a play in the field. So he's 22, so we're going to be seeing him full time in the big leagues pretty soon.
Mm-hmm.
But it sucks for the Twins that Donaldson he was not even on their roster for the series due to cap issues. So it sort of sucks that one of their big acquisitions, their big bats, is out, and you sort of see the result of that. But then it's just in the way that the games went, and it was just timely hitting by the Astros. It was like things that teams that in a way have been there and done it before do. So now it's just going to be everybody rooting against them. So luckily enough, they're going against 2 teams that will be easy to root for in the A's and the White Sox in the next round. But they get, what is that? So they get Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 4 days off till our next game. They're going to get Greinke fresh in the 3-game series. And then they play they're playing at Dodger Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
So now, after this round, they're going off to their own location. But as of now, looking across the board, Yankees 1-2 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Astros 1-2 on the road. Cardinals 1 on the road. White Sox 1-1 on the road.
Mm-hmm.
Marlins 1-1 on the road. So what we've had 12 games, and there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8. Okay. No, that's not right. A lot of teams are winning on the road. It's a 3-game series, so you can't speak much to it. But it's a shortened, truncated playoff format. But it's been cool. If there's going to be a way to sort of see what playoff expansion's like in MLB, this is a very interesting way to do it. Even more so when it's, and this isn't going to be the same in future years, regardless of what happens with playoff expansion, but you're having teams that outside of the Blue Jays and the Rays haven't played yet this year because of what the scheduling format's like. So that's another interesting twist to it. But yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see kind of how it all plays out. We're playing the World Series in Arlington right now. The next round they'll go to San Diego, Los Angeles, Arlington, and Houston. So it's going to be these bubble sites are going to be interesting to see kind of moving forward. I think I'm going to like it because you had some fans getting a little bit of a home field advantage. I think the Twins had a couple people in their stadium for their games with the Astros, which it was probably the first time the Astros have been in front of fans all season. I was hoping they'd get a little more
be a little more vocal.
Badgering, yeah, but
did you see at the Braves Reds game? So nobody was in the stadium, but outside the stadium they had a watch party.
Oh yeah.
At the watch party, there was a big group of people,
Yeah.
Everybody was so close together, and it was just like no masks, and it was like one of the things where it was like, well, if you're gonna allow this,
yeah, why don't you just let them in the stadium?
people in?
Yeah.
So I was just silly because I kept on going to it too. And I'm like, you probably don't want to promote that this is going on.
Yeah. That's funny. That's funny. But so for the teams that there has been some positives for the teams that didn't make the playoffs. The Pirates, you're I see you're like
Q.
Yeah. The Pirates, I mean, there hasn't been like a definitive like how the order is going to be picked for the MLB draft. I would assume they're getting the number 1 seed or they're getting the number 1 pick. So they're getting Kumar Rocker. Brooksy, how does it feel that they almost blew it, but they were actually able to pull it off?
Yeah, so like I think they had a few games against the Cubs last week at this time. They won those. They're coming in winning two straight on Friday night when they're just like a game up on the Rangers for a worst record. They're up 3-1, the Pirates, going into the 9th inning.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, no, don't do it. But they kept the MVP of the season, Chris Stratton, promptly in like 5 minutes blows the 3-1 lead. They lose in the bottom of the 9th.
Mm-hmm.
And then so they clinch the tie, and then later that night the Rangers win. So then they clinch the worst record. I'm not yet going to say draft pick because part of me is like a little bit like, why hasn't Manfred announced it yet? I think that's a little suspect. But, you know, I would hope that it would be a typical draft format because if we're legitimizing a 60-game season for playoffs and for a World Series, then I would hope it would be the same for the draft. Not just because my team sits in the most favorable position right now, but you know, just the name that's sitting at 1. I mean, even the name that's at 2 is just very, very intriguing to me. I think it's insane the amount of times that I've watched the Kumar Rocker no-hitter highlights in college. And, you know, I think that's a guy that, I mean, Dre said last week that he's not going to be far off in terms of when he's going to make his appearance. And it's a guy that instantaneously will plug in value. And I'll say in the Pirates' previous regime, it would be fair to say, oh, I worry about his development there. But this is a different regime now. What's his name? Why am I blanking on it?
Who?
Pirates pitching coach. Ed Searage. Searage is gone. They're bringing in a different pitching philosophy, a different pitching coach from the top, bottom, and developmentally. It's a completely different organization in that regard. So people externally can say what they want once he gets good and that the Pirates won't pay him. But about him not developing properly, it's too soon to say because it's a different regime that crashed Glasnow, that didn't get the full extent out of Cole. So I really hope that it's announced soon and it's not some bullcrap lottery or some scenario where it's taking the record from last year and this year.
Yeah.
Even though maybe there's some justice in that. But it's the same thing. It's just why not take draft order seriously when we're taking that big piece of metal seriously, but we're also dealing with the man that called that trophy a big piece of metal. So there's excitement on the horizon. So there's that, but then there's also if he met, I don't know if he met like the full criteria for rookies, but if he played longer and was producing at this rate, Brian Hayes would be in serious rookie of the year talks because since he was called up, he was one of the best players in the league, not just for rookies.
Like I thought he was gonna blow like the Pirates getting the number 1 pick.
And I was like,
he was playing so well.
Stop. He got like 5 hits in a game. I'm like,
kid, I know you want to be good. I know you're in the MLB for the first time, but relax.
Recognize the scenario. And it was funny because in that game that they blew on Friday, they get the pick. They're up 3-1, as I said. And Chris Stratton pitched the 8th. and he's coming out again for the ninth when you have a fresh Richard Rodriguez in the bullpen who's pitched like well this year.
Yeah.
And as soon as they didn't pull Stratton to put in Rodriguez, I was like, yes.
Yep.
That they're taking their moment to strike. But, I mean, they're ending on a higher note. So that's positive. I think next year is like the first official year that they're having the draft at the All-Star game.
Yeah.
So that's going to like add some added pizzazz to the stage.
Little
And, you know, getting the guy like Kumar Rocker would just be huge. So there's some upside to, you know, this season, and I'm glad that it is happening. I mean, in a way in which, you know, it sort of needs to have some plug in here just for some sort of hope down the line, because, you know, the end of the Pirates farm system at the end of the Huntington era was just barren, and seeing Glasnow go out and pitch very well, seeing Cole very well, seeing Morton in the next postseason series, it's just constant reminders of the Pirates' shortfalls. So we'll take any joys we can get.
For sure. Well, it's going to be an interesting next couple of weeks with the playoffs going on, but it is playoff baseball. So, you know, a couple months ago, no one thought we would get here, but here we are talking playoff baseball, talking who's going to win the World Series, talking the MLB draft, talking postseason games. It's good to be here right now. I'm not going to lie. Like it's, I'm sure Dre is going to be a little sad when he wakes up. Who knows? But he owes us an apology next week, that's for sure. So we'll make sure he gives that an episode.
He may have thought we were 6:30 Pacific time. That's our bad.
Yeah, maybe. But guys, until next week, thanks for joining us for another episode. This is hopefully going to drop around noon today, so Tuesday. Or no, what's today? Thursday. Wow. So this will drop today, so we'll get this out there, so our playoff picks are out there. But thanks for joining us again. We'll see you next week. Peace.